Okay, so here's section 7.1, problem number 11. Study of 420,075 cell phone users found that 138 of them developed some special kind of cancer of the brain or nervous system. Prior to this study of the cell phone, the rate of such cancer was that, 0.0228%. Notice that's a percent. For those not using cell phones, complete parts A and B. Use the sample data to construct a 95% confidence interval estimate of the percentage of cell phone users who develop cancer of the brain or nervous system. So, all right, so we have to go to our TI calculator. So on the TI, we hit stat, and then go down to option B, which is, option A, not B, option A, which is 1 proportion Z interval, because this is a proportion, we're talking about percentages, and it's an interval, a confidence interval. So 1 proportion Z interval, hit enter on that, and then you'll get the questions they're going to ask you. The calculator needs to know what is X. X is the number of people that got the cancer. That's the 138. And then N, that's always the total number of people in the study. That's the 420,075. And the confidence level is 0.95, because they asked us to do a 95% confidence interval. And then on calculate, you just hit enter, and it cranks it out. And when you do, here's the numbers you get. I got parenthesis 2. Well, here, let me give a little more room there. 2.7 E minus 4 and 3.8 E minus 4. Now maybe that E minus 4 notation is confusing for you. Let me help. What that means exponent. It means scientific notation. So it means 2.7 times 10 to the minus 4 power, comma, 3.8 times 10 to the minus 4 power. E stands for exponent. The exponent on a 10. 10 to the minus 4, 10 to the minus 4. That's called scientific notation. Really, you don't need to even write that down. You just need to know what that means. What does that mean? That means take the decimal point, which is right here, and move it back 4 places. That's what the negative 4 is. So back 1, and you're to the edge of the number. 2, 3, 4, you bring in zeros. So it's 0.00027. Same thing with this decimal. It's negative 4. So back 4 places. 1, you're to the edge of the number. 2, 3, 4 brings in 3 zeros. So that's really 0.00027, comma 0.00038. So that's what that means when you get. We're not done yet. We have one more step. We got to turn it into percentage, so we're going to move the decimals both forward 2 places. But first, let me make sure you're clear on this. When they say E minus 4, that means move the decimal back 1, 2, 3, 4 places. The first jump goes to the edge of the number. The other 3 jumps bring in zeros. Same thing here. First jump to the edge of the number, then 1, 2, 3 zeros. So that's move the decimal, e to the minus 4. If that was e to the plus 4, you would move the decimal to the right 4 places. So e to the minus 4, decimal back 4 places. Okay, now, last thing, they're talking percentage. Now, if I have 0.79 or whatever, and I want to turn it into percentage, it becomes 79%, which means the decimal's moved to right there. The decimal goes forward 2 places when you put a percent on, doesn't it? Same thing here. Now, because they want a percentage answer for both, we move the decimal forward 2 places, so it's 0.0 0.027%. Forward 2 places, 0.038%. So that's what they want, 0.027% and 0.038%. Remember, percent always means move the decimal 2 places. So when I go from this decimal version to this percentage version, which they're asking for both answers, you have to move the decimal 2 more places. So it's a tricky decimal movement problem. We first move it back 4 places because of the exponential notation on our calculator, and then forward 2 places because we want to go to percentage. So there's our answers. Now, what does that mean about their overall question? It said right here that prior to this study of cell phone use, the rate of such cancer was found to be 0.0228% for those not using cell phones. So that's the rate of cancer for those not using cell phones, 0.0228. How does that compare to the interval we have here? Well, 0.027 is bigger than 0.022. If it confuses you, just cut off the 8 here. Or make it a 2.3, whatever. It's 0.022. This is 0.27 and 3.8. They're both bigger. So 0.22, that's a 0.228. That's a lower number, not in the interval. So that means this percent, that's percent there, 0.0228%. That's the percentage of people that used to get cancer that don't use cell phones, and it's lower. So the group that does use cell phones, their percentage of cancer came out a little higher. I don't think this is a real study, real numbers, but we're just saying if it came out this way, what would this mean? Well, that means we get a lower percentage not in the interval, not between these two numbers, when they don't use cell phones. This was the number no cell phones. It was lower. So, what does this mean? Do cell phone users appear to have a rate of cancer that is different from those not using cell phones? Our answer would be yes, because this is not included in the interval. Right? This is lower than both those numbers. It's not between them. It's not in the interval between them. It's lower. 0.22 is lower than 0.27 and 0.38. So that's our answer.